The Daily Jaws 50th Anniversary interview series is a collection of amazing conversations exploring the legacy of Steven Spielberg's screen adaptation of Jaws through the eyes of the fans. We'll be talking to famous fans, shark experts, people whose lives have been changed by the movie, and those that were there that helped to make the film. We'll also be telling you about two amazing organisations that are very close to our hearts. Anyway, that's enough from me. Thank you for listening and enjoy the show.
I had nothing to do with the making of Jaws. I had nothing to do with any of that, but it's just been a constant in my life since I can remember, and it just gives me comfort when I watch it.
It touched us in a way that no other film did before, no other film has since.
I think in our first year, Martin, you probably remember this, the wife of the helicopter pilot in Jaws 2 joined our page, and we thought we had just met Spielberg himself. I mean, we were so excited.
I'm not going to lie. I would pay the money and go see it because it's something new pertaining to Jaws. Do I think it would ever do justice? No.
Hey guys, it's Ross over at the Daily Jaws with a very special virtual roundtable. Today, I'm joined by the creators and admins of some of the best Jaws Facebook groups out there, including Amity Jaws Group, Let's Talk Jaws Live, and Jaws 50. Guys, please welcome some of the best Facebook people in the world that I know right now to the Daily Jaws. Guys, welcome.
Hey.
Howdy.
Wow, it's incredible to see so much Jaws in one Zoom call. It's absolutely amazing. I'd love to get you guys to introduce yourselves because not everybody watching and listening may be aware of your groups and who you are. So, Amity Jaws Group, would you like to go first?
Oh, yeah, sure.
It's alphabetical, Michael, so it makes sense, right? I'm Martin Bushel from the Amity Jaws Group. When Robin is one of my really good friends and helps me moderate the page. We've been running now for almost 7 years, almost 34,000 members, and it's great to be with you guys. To echo what Ross said, you know, these are some of the best people on Facebook, but certainly the best Jaws guys on Facebook. So with that, I'll just pass it over to Robin.
Thanks, Martin. My name is Robin Tierney. As Martin Bushel just explained, I help co-moderate the Amity Jaws page with him. It's been quite an adventure. What we thought was going to be just a couple of fans getting together has exploded into, Q&As and contests and just a whole world that we never thought was possible. So I echo all of us here when we say Jaws fans really are the best fans. So, and then I'll lob it over, I guess, to Nate.
Hi, Nate Jones here. It's the first time I've ever been on one of these dating sites before, so I'm not really prepared. I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
Number 4. Here we go.
I am a longtime member of all of your sites and a longtime fan of all of the pages, and a longtime just enjoyer of everything, and a fairly recent host of Let's Talk Jaws Live. I've been hanging out and watching. You guys got me through COVID and made me want to kind of step up and help out a little bit, and here I am. And I got to say, this is great. This is a group of people that we frequently talk. We rarely get a chance to talk together as a whole, and so this is very special. So thank you.
No worries. And last but not least, Mr. Michael Smith.
Hey, hi, I'm Mike Smith. I have the Jaws 50 page. We have about 16,000 members. Let's Talk Jaws Live. We've been around for about 5 years. Depending on who you talk to, I'm either a Jaws guru or I'm a worthless nobody. So
I only said that once, Michael.
I remember that. I've been a member of Amity Jaws Group forever. I follow the Daily Jaws forever. And it's great. This is the culmination of what we've all strived to do over the last 10, 15 years. As Martin always likes to say, amity is friendship, and that's what this is.
Mm-hmm. You couldn't have put it much better myself. And there's something that I think the listeners and the watchers might be interested in knowing is this is actually the first time, even though we've known each other for ages, this is the first time we've actually all been together to talk about Jaws, which I think is just ridiculous, but wonderful at the same time, because the 50th anniversary, I can't think of a better time to talk Jaws, and I can't think of a better group of people to talk about Jaws with. Now, we've all got a Jaws journey, a Jaws story. Robin, if I start with you, when did you first see the movie and what do you remember about that experience?
So actually, I'm going to go back even further than the movie. Behind me here is the album soundtrack, the original from 1975 that I had as a child, that my dad would play when I was maybe 4 and chase us around the house screaming and doing the whole thing. So that was my very first Jaws experience, was this particular that's sitting back there, which got me intrigued even as a 4-year-old. And I did not actually see the movie until I was probably 10 or 11, when it was, I want to say cable had come out, and it was, Showtime was the big thing, and it was showing there. So this was finally the chance that I got to watch the movie that went along with the music that had been such a big part of the early childhood. So I became a Jaws obsessed before I even saw our fish movie, as Carl Gottlieb called it. So yeah, that's my very beginning.
Oh, wonderful. What about you, Nate? When did you first see the movie?
First time I caught the movie was when it aired on ABC. I was fairly young, not allowed to watch the Jaws movie, and luckily I had a stepdad who was a little bit forgiving when it came to those things. And so when it aired on ABC, I was sitting in my big orange velour sweatback couch and sit back and watching Jaws and trying to keep my hands off my eyes during certain scenes. So,
And what about you, Martin?
So I saw the movie in 1975. I would have been, when the movie came out, I would have been two and a half. So obviously way too young to go to the theatre to see it, although the 70s were very different in the UK. But I saw it with my aunt and my grandmother. It was re-released, I want to say December of 78. So I would have been 5 or 6. And I have very vague memories, very vague and fuzzy memories of it, because I was so young. But I speak to my aunt frequently about this. She's a member of all the groups as well. But like I said, the 70s were different. I don't think I had any business as a 5-year-old really seeing Jaws on the big screen. But like I say, the 70s were different. So that was my first memory. And then the second time I remember seeing it, when it was on TV, on ITV, which is a channel in the UK, October 8th. I want to say it was 1980. Ross, you probably remember that as well, right?
Yeah, vaguely.
Yeah. So, and my memory of that, and I'll be brief, but is when Hooper's doing the half-assed autopsy and when he's cutting the shark. I remember turning to my dad, and I remember saying to my Dad, I'm not ever going to drink milk ever again when all the stuff comes out. So that's my memory of that. In 1980, I would have been 7 or 8 at that time.
Wow. Yeah, I had a very similar experience watching it on TV about a similar age, I think. And Michael, when are you actually planning on watching the movie?
Well, I was just, I've always wanted to, but I've always been intrigued by the naked girl on the poster. So that's why I'm a fan. I understand there is a big fish in it.
There is. It's a very, no, I was only joking. Go ahead, mate. Tell us, when did you first see the movie?
It was a rainy Sunday. No, September 21st, 1975. I had just turned 15. And my dad said, "What do you want to do?" And I said, "Well, I saw this movie advertised on television and I'd like to go see it." So he dropped me off at the University Cinema in Tampa, and I went inside and put my money on the counter. And I said, "1 ticket for Dog Day Afternoon, please." And the girl in the box office looked at me and said, "Well, that's rated R. You're not old enough to see it." And I kind of stood there with a forlorn look on my face, and she leaned forward in the little microphone and she said, "Have you seen Jaws yet?" And I said, "No, I hadn't." And I did. And here I am.
That's great.
Michael, that's really great, because we were in Tampa when it came out as well. So our family lived in Tampa, and I believe my older siblings probably saw it around that same time. In the same city. So
where did they go to high school?
I have no idea. We moved north shortly after, but I do know in 78 we moved to Michigan. But yeah, we were in Florida at that time, in Tampa, and our neighbor, when people were very scared to go out into the water, of course, but my older sister did. And our neighbor at the time went underwater and grabbed her legs, and it was mass chaos. So, yeah, but that was all, I think, Clearwater Beach that happened right.
Okay. Yeah, we had moved to Florida the week Jaws opened. We were staying with my grandfather till my dad and I got a place. And I'd go to the beach because he lived by the beach in St. Pete. And I'd go out in the water and people would be like, "Hey, buddy, watch out for Jaws." I'd be like, "I have no idea what you're talking about." So I pretty much had the beach to myself that summer.
I
Yeah. And I always think now when I go swimming, I go to the vineyard and we went to Destin, people say, "What if you get attacked by a shark?" That would be God's greatest irony. For the newspaper headline to read "Jaws fan attacked by shark." No, I'd give up a couple toes for that.
Yeah. So just a quick age check, because one of the controversial things about Jaws, and one of the questions I get asked quite a lot is, when should you watch Jaws? What's the age? How old were we when we all watched Jaws? I was about 5-6 years old. What about you guys?
Yeah, about 5. Yeah, about 5.
Yeah.
A little older than 10.
Yeah. And Michael?
Yeah,
I was 15.
15.
Well, Ross, to ask you a question, do you think now, because obviously I made the joke earlier, that, the 70s were different, and they were, you think now kids' sensibilities, like Robin, for example, what age will you let your daughter watch the movie?
Oh, goodness. I mean, it would probably be about at least 8. Like the 4s and 5s, like they can't separate reality from filmmaking. And I remember when I saw The Exorcist even at 8, and I really was traumatized. So those little brains, I mean, I feel like some might be able to manage it more than others, but for my own kid, it would be at least maybe closer to 10 when they can kind of understand a little bit more. But back then, I mean, it was kind of the Wild West, right? You just kind of watched what you did, and maybe some parents didn't allow, but then you had step parents, maybe, like, I think, who was it? Yeah, it was Nate. Who's like, "Hey, good luck," so yeah.
Well, I heard a story from quite a well-known actor who will remain nameless for the sake of the episode, and he was actually working with Steven Spielberg at the time that his daughter wanted to watch Jaws. So he took his daughter to meet Steven on set while they were working, and she asked Steven, "How can I watch Jaws?" And Steven apparently said, "How old are you?" And she said 7. And Steven thought, and he went, "No, you can't watch it. You're too young." So I think the sort of the 7, 8, 9, I think is probably like optimum time. I think 5, 6 might be a little bit scarring, traumatic. I don't know. I mean, we turned out fine, right, guys?
Well, you say that, right?
I would say it. Everyone but the bald guy in the corner there. We all turned out okay. The other one's questionable.
Yeah. Which corner?
Really,
yeah.
And it really depends on who you talk to. Now, if we had a second perspective of this show in which we had everyone's spouses in here, it might be a different story. But for now, it sounds like we're all looking good these days. Am I right?
I think so.
And the thing is also, it's a different climate now. I remember when The Exorcist came back out in 2003, maybe. And I went to see it because I wanted to see the crab walk. And there were kids in there, 19, 20, 21. They were laughing. And I was like, "Oh my God, what?" They've been so, tuned out with movies like Hostel and all the graphic violence. I think today Jaws would easily, they had a fight for the R rating, PG rating. I think Jaws would easily be, if not PG-13, I think it'd be PG today.
Well, we had a similar experience a few years ago. They showed Jaws outside in a botanical garden, and you take a blanket and a picnic, and it was really nice. And as we were, under the stars, really, really great. And as we were leaving, there was some teenage girls, maybe 16, 17, and they were just talking how bad the shark looked, which, it deeply offended me because, these kids have grown up with Jurassic Park and special effects and CGI that look absolutely realistic. Obviously in 74 when they made Jaws, that wasn't an option. So I think for us of our age, we hit it right. I think maybe if Jaws was released today, would we appreciate it the same way we did back in the 70s? I don't know. I mean, obviously it's a marvel of modern filmmaking, but you know.
It's a really good point, because Jaws was re-released back here in the UK, I think maybe maybe even 6 years ago, and it was in the IMAX, and it was on 3D. So I don't know if you guys have seen not Jaws 3D, but Jaws in 3D, the restoration they did, which is amazing. But when I went to see it, it really is. I was very worried about the 3D restoration. I thought, oh, please don't mess it up. But they've done a wonderful job. But when I was watching Jaws, because I actually did the double on the same day, because I went to see it in the IMAX and then I went to see it in 3D in my local cinema. And there was lots of people bringing in people to see Jaws for the first time, usually parents bringing in kids. And I tell you what, it played so well. I was just keeping an eye on, sort of trying to figure out who hadn't seen the movie before and where they're reacting to the movie. And it was almost like being back there in 1975, because people were jumping where they're supposed to jump, gasping, laughing, cheering, and all that kind of stuff. And I'm just like, wow, this movie still plays. But I think, to your point, Martin, the sensitivities are different now. You know, then the expectation is higher, particularly in terms of practical effects. But I mean, for me, Jaws is like 2 hours, 4 minutes of perfect craft. I mean, do we have a favorite moment in Jaws that stands out to all of us?
I mean, it's funny. There are scenes that are not considered famous scenes. Like I love the scene when, you know, Martin is drinking his pint of wine, and Matt Hooper comes to the door and he says, "I'd love to speak to your husband," and she said, "So would I." Like things like that, just little tiny bits. It's just genius filmmaking. The part when, you know, his son is mimicking him. It's just such great filmmaking. You know, so those are two are just, they always give me a giggle. And also, you know, Mayor Vaughn, we captured and killed a shark that supposedly injured some bathers. Like, just brilliant politician, you know. So those, for me, those are three, like, maybe not as, you know, like Ben Gardner's head popping out, or, you know, Quentin get a bit in half, the Indianapolis. Those smaller scenes for me are just genius filmmaking.
Yeah.
Oh, exactly. It's the small, it's the little scenes that, like, that Martin points out, that you know, and even stuff without dialogue, when they're chasing the barrels, the 3-barrel chase, and that look on Scheider's face as you know, the wind is streaming past him. Yeah.
For me, it's really any use of those locals. I mean, you just can look in the background. You've got your main, you know, dialogue going on, and if you're kind of peering past and looking in the background and seeing what those townspeople are doing and faces they make, and it just, I'm fascinated by all of those Martha's Vineyards locals that kind of came in, and I've never even since seen such a great use of local talent just in the background to make it feel real. I mean, these were just real people. They weren't actors. They just stood up and did it. You know, Harry and, you know, I think the coroner was the local doctor on the island. And,
Dr.
you know, I mean, the town hall scene, and then the, you know, a tiger shark, a what scene. And they're all trying to, I want to say even Carl Gottlieb, he's like trying to get a picture for the paper, and you can hear all the buzz in the background where he's like, one line standing, one line kneeling, like in high school. And I'm like, that is totally just in high school. And like anybody would say that, you know? So I don't know how much free reign Spielberg gave to those local people to just, you know, now chatter and action. And they just did it. But that's what it feels like. It feels like you're in any town with anybody down the road. And every scene that is involving those people, I just immediately, I'm looking around at what's going on everywhere in every part of that screen. So, and that has nothing to do with the main story, right? That's just the color that they fill in with. So
it's such a good point. You know, the world building in Jaws, I think, is something that's often overlooked, and the locals who are extras or supporting parts played a massive part in that. But I do have one question: who is the guy in the Mac and the hat and the goggles who's just basically stalking Hooper? What is that guy all about?
He walked on from I know what you did last summer. I think he was an extra from that movie. Yeah, it's supposed to be like you know, around July 4th. He's wearing like a big hat and a big Mac. You guys have all seen him, right? You know the guy. Ross was talking about. Yeah.
Somebody addressed that at one point in time, and he was just a local fisherman or some sort, of what I understand. Yeah,
that is so funny.
Can you imagine being at those casting calls? So they add in the paper, hey, bring in what? Can you imagine the crowd that they got for those casting calls? Man, that must have just been a hoot.
That must have been an absolute choice for Sherry Rhodes. What about you, Nate? Do you have a favorite moment in the movie?
You know, I feel, and I speak personally, growing up, I was drawn to certain scenes. And some of those scenes I still love today, but I feel like I've overwatched them. I think Quint's death scene was incredible. I think watching the orca leave Menipsha was just a glorious scene, and hearing him chatter in the background. Yeah, I think the breakaway dock scene, and as I get older, I was more drawn to the dialogue and the individualistic characters, you know, hearing Quint talk, you know. And now it's some of the subtleties, and I agree some with what Robin said. Especially after visiting the island, you're drawn to what's going on in the background and how that builds, because Amity is one of the characters of the movie. And to this day, it's these quaint little captured scenes that I catch, and I think you have a personal identification. One is, or two of them happen to be Brody scenes, when he's sitting there at the dinner table, and they're going through and he's saying, oh, you know, Martin hates the water, you know, what do you call it? He just says drowning. Like, that sounds like something I would come out with and say. And so I identify with that. And the other part is, in all the adversity of the movie, people are dying, everyone's in distress, you know, they're worried about the economics. And Orca is chasing the three barrels, and you catch a glimpse of Brody, and he's got his head back and a smile on his face, and the wind is cutting through his hair. And he is finding the fun and you know, the adventure in all of that adversity. To me, it just blows me away. I look for that every time. It's like I have to see that scene, otherwise I missed out on something. So
yeah.
Can I just jump in and add one other scene? I only noticed fairly recently. I say fairly recently, maybe 3 or 4 years. But when just before they deliver, Quint delivers the Indianapolis speech, you know, and they're singing, they're comparing the scars and all that good stuff, and they're, you know. And Brody stands, he lifts his shirts, and he shows his appendicitis scar. And if you look at the table, there are three plates of food. Both Hooper and Quint have eaten their food, and Brody's food is completely untouched, which I think is just, it's such genius. You know, these two guys are like old sea dogs. They're used to it, and Brody is afraid of the water. I thought it's just such a throwaway thing. It's just genius, complete genius.
Yeah.
And then you get little subtleties like when Hooper is looking at the tiger shark and he's measuring, and the guy is blowing in his ear in the back. Yeah, stuff like that. Like, I don't understand, but hilarious. It lightens the mood, you know, all these little things. And it's just, again, just all the little subtleties that just add to your point, just genius filmmaking.
Yeah.
You know, don't even have to talk, and it's still genius.
Right.
What about you, Michael? What's your favorite moment in the movie?
Probably the one that everybody probably remembers, but it's the one that's the most vivid, is the Ben Gardner's head scene. Because I literally showered the people with popcorn behind me when the head popped out. And my dad used to take pleasure in scaring me and stuff. He always saw an R-rated movie first before he took me, but like we went to see The Omen, and you know, when they're in the cemetery, and he knew when those dogs were going to show up. And he grabbed me like that. I didn't jump that much there as much as I did in Jaws.
Yeah, it's one of the all-time great scary moments. And I think just to echo what Martin was saying about the scene where Chief Brody is sort of just basically drinking himself into oblivion. But just before we have that moment, we have that wonderful moment between him and Sean. You know, and that for me is probably my favorite moment, not just in Jaws but in cinema, because it's just so organic. It's so real. It's something we've probably all experienced. And there's a moment in that scene that I think sort of really helps me understand why I think Jaws is so rewatchable, and I think why a lot of people might find it as well. It's where Chief Brody's just pouring wine into his pint glass, and when I watched that as a kid, I was just thinking, God, Chief must be thirsty. I'm like, nope. As an adult, it's like, holy shit, this guy is not coping at all. You know, it's like, and alcoholism is one of the underlying themes that, you know, is touched on in Jaws. What do we think is the most important scene or most important moment in the movie?
It's got to be the Indianapolis, right? That gives you the speech. That gives you an insight into how Quint's mind works and why he'll never put on a life jacket again. And for me, that's probably the greatest scene in any movie ever. It's just even now. I mean, even now watching it, I don't know how many times I've seen the movie, but you're still just drawn in by that performance. It's like, oh my God, this guy is just acting his, you know, his skin off. It's just amazing.
Yeah.
Well, if you watch that scene and you see Richard Dreyfuss he is just his mouth agape, and that wasn't acting. He was just marveling at the brilliance of Robert Shaw.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is one of the all-time great scenes. What about you, Robin? What do you think is probably the most important moment in Jaws?
For me, it's when they're leaving Menemsha through that shark jaw. The tone of the movie changes, right? From that scene on, it's now the three of them. You know, the hunter becomes the hunted. You know, all of that, and it's, you know, again, that's to me where the pivotal moment of shift happens in the scene, and so for me, that's probably my favorite.
Yeah.
So,
what about you, Nate?
My scene would be the scene leading up to what Robin just identified. So for me, when Michael is in the water, you know, there's the attack in the pond, and the shark goes by Michael, and Brody grabs him out. And, you know, is he dead? No, he's in shock and covers him up with the blankets. When he looks up and you see his face before they break away to him looking under the bridge, you see the conviction on his face, and he has changed. He is no longer afraid of everything. And the new guy, he is now, this has personally affected me, and I'm taking matters into my own hands. And that's where, to me, it's the big paradigm shift of the movie, because everything changes tone at that point.
Yeah, it's such an important moment. I mean, like you say, he's kind of sobered up to the point that this is no longer something he can run away from, hide from. He has to face this head on, and that shot of him looking out into the water is just, it's incredible.
Somebody's got to take charge. It might as well be me. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
right.
Exactly.
Well, and he stands up to Vaughn finally at that. You know, he's kind of been that, you know, taking orders and no more. And so you're right. Yeah. Everything kind of takes a turn.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, like, it's like trying to choose between your children, isn't it? You know, it's this Jaws is so many great moment after great moment after great moment. But I think you're right. I think we've all kind of identified, you know, the really key moments in the story. And we've talked about characters a little bit, but I've got to ask the question, guys, who are your favorite characters in Jaws? Or if you've got one particular favorite, who would it be? And we're going to go in reverse order this time, because I know Nate has been getting away with it and had time to think about the answers while listening to everybody else. So, Nate, who's your favorite character and why?
I mean, obvious, the big three, it kind of shifts. I've always identified with Brody the most. I mean, there's aspects I love of Hooper. But if I have to pick a character who probably has very little time and has no dialogue, but I simply love the scene, it would have to be Harbor Master Frank Silva. Because watching things go awry, and he's got a smile on his face, and he's got his cereal and his milk and his sugar.
Cornflakes.
He's just sitting back and enjoying the show. I mean, I see that, and that just blows me away every time, you know?
Just a side question, Nate. What do you do for a living? And is that linked to that identification with that particular character?
It is not. I'm an elementary school teacher. So, yeah, I just totally out of the blue there on that one. But yes, yeah.
Okay. I thought you were going to turn around and say you're a harbor master for a moment, but okay, that's cool.
He does eat cornflakes every morning, though, so maybe that's something there. I don't know.
Maybe that's what it is.
Yeah, well, there's just carnage in the classroom. He's just like, yep, it's Monday.
That's right.
Are they cornflakes or Rice Krispies? I can never remember.
I've always thought it's cornflakes, but I'm open to being wrong.
I'm about 99% positive. I think it's either cornflakes and everyone thinks it's Rice Krispies, or vice versa.
Vice versa.
It's one of those two. Yeah.
Somebody quick, go watch the film.
Yes. Yeah,
we did that in one of our trivia games, Mike, and I can't remember which one it was.
Michael, what about you? Who's your favorite character in Jaws, if it's possible to choose one?
Well, on the offhand, Richard Dreyfuss is watching. It's Hooper. But no, it's Brody. It's always been Brody. I think the audience sees themselves in Brody, or Brody in themselves. And I think, going out in the unknown with people that have done this before and are more experienced, and you're the new guy in town and you don't want to ruffle feathers, but you have a job to do. Yeah, Brody. What
about you, Robin?
Mrs. Taft. A woman, and I'm a woman. I think that her character is fascinating to me because she just represents the snootiness of that area. She represents how closed-minded these people are. She's the first Karen. I believe she's been identified as the patient zero of Karens, but she just killed me every single time. She's not, you have this town hall scene, and then you've got her on the beach where she's you can tell her husband is henpecked. And then she's in the 4th of July scene. She's in the water laughing. Like, this woman is she's just funny and just multi-layered to me. But I just, again, when you're talking about somebody who contributes so little to the overall film, she makes a huge impact because, again, she represents that attitude of that island. And if we know a little bit about behind the scenes, that's how they kind of are. I believe there were a few behind the scenes Q&As that we've all done where they kind of give you the impression that that's really how those people are. And sorry, those from Martha's Vineyard, I'm sure maybe it's changed and much different, but just that elite, you were an islander, you're not an islander, that kind of thing. She's just the poster child for all of that. And so she fascinates me.
You know what? It's a really good shout. And the reason I say it is because she was obviously in Jaws 2, but she was also in Jaws: The Revenge, wasn't she? Very briefly, after Sean had been killed, and she was with Mrs. Kintner. Yeah, so it's Mrs. Taft and Mrs. Kintner are basically both there for Ellen Brody, even though at the original movie they both had real reasons to hate the Brodies because of what happened. So it's really nice to see those characters, even though it's a tiny little moment in a cameo, to sort of come full circle in the realization of actually what the Brody family were trying to do to try and save Amity. What about you, Martin? Who's your favourite?
Well, just before I say, with Robin saying Mrs. Taft, I don't know if you, on the Amity Jaws page, there are people who are absolutely obsessed with Mrs. Taft, and they have done memes and video. It's unreal. A character who is not very likable, to Robin's point, has just got this. I wish this lady was still alive to see like what she's meant to people. But I think I agree with Michael. I think Brody. I think when I was younger, when I watched the movie, I thought Matt Hooper's character was awesome. But as I've gotten older, definitely Martin Brody. I mean, he's every man, right? To Michael's point, we should all be able to kind of see ourselves a little bit in him. Doing things that he really wasn't built to do. He was a New York cop, and now he's out on a boat chasing down a shark. I mean, out of his element. But yeah, I think Brody for sure. And Ross, do you have a favourite character?
Pipit. I love the dog. No, you know what? It's a strange thing. I've had a real it's a weird relationship that I've had with the movie, and it sounds really pompous to say it, but I don't mean it to sound that way. But it's like when I was a kid, because I watched it at say 5-6 years old, I was fascinated by the shark, and that's all I kind of really wanted to see when I first saw the movie. So I automatically gravitated to Hooper because I just thought, wow, he's the shark guy, so he's the character I should like the most, and he was the coolest, he was the youngest, he was the hippest, and all that. And then, as you get older and you go through life a little bit, you start to pick up a few scars, and I started to sort of think, oh, maybe I'm a little bit more like Quint. I see a bit of that in myself. But now, since I've sort of come past that, I've grown into more of sort of who I'm probably going to be for the rest of my life, if you like. And now I've got sort of children in my life in terms of godchildren and all that sort of stuff. I really gravitate towards Brody. I think he's probably my favourite character in it. He is that everyman, and he's faced with just an insurmountable challenge, but figures out a way to do it, but he also relies on a lot of people to help him get there too, which I think is one of the other big lessons in Jaws. And I love this next question because every person that I've asked has sort of given a slightly different answer to this question. So I'm really interested to see what you guys say, and no copying in the class, by the way. What a lot of people say Jaws is just about a shark, but we all know that it's not. And if it's not about a shark, what is it about? Martin, what do you think Jaws is about if it's not about a shark?
I was hoping to get a little bit of time to think about that one. I agree. It's not about the shark. I think the shark is incidental in the movie. Actually, I think Robin made the point earlier. I think for most of us, Jaws is a movie of two parts, right? You've got the build up, and then when the orcas leave Menemsha and you see it through the Jaws, that's the second part of the movie. And for me, that's where the movie really kicks into that higher gear. And I think it's about, for me, it's really and this is going to sound pompous, it's really kind of a character study of these three men on a boat with different. They have the same goal, but different ways of going about it. You know, Quint is the grizzled, ex-Navy guy who went through this really terrible trauma as a younger man. You know, Hooper is just fascinated by sharks, and he comes at it from a more scientific point of view. And he got Brody, who wants to kill the thing because what it's doing to the town. So I think it's a character study of these three men with the same goal, but coming from a different point of view.
Mm. Great answer. I'll tell you what. Yeah, I was going to say, Martin, nominate the next person. You go ahead.
Yeah, Robin, there you go.
Oh, come on. Well, again, if we can't repeat, if we got to do something else, to me, not only to completely echo what Martin said, it's 100% a character study, but I expand it further into a character study and just all the different people. You've got kids and wives and townspeople, and you have a widow, and you've got or not a well, I think Mrs. Kintner's a widow, it seems like it, but now she's lost her son. So it's about people. And this non-human comes to disrupt their lives. You've got people terrified of welfare, and you've got people losing their loved ones, but it's truly about people is really what this is. And again, the shark is secondary. It could have been anything that disrupted this charming little, utopia. But it wasn't a utopia. And we see that, right? And as we go along. So again, I don't know if Nate or Mike have anything else, but or even you, Ross. But I mean, again, it's encompassing. It's a story about people is really what it is. So
follow that, guys.
And next, see, I one-upped Martin, and that makes me happy. So
go ahead, Mike. You have at it.
Yeah, they said everything I was going to say. So next, no, it is about the characters. It's the people you identify with. You are genuinely concerned for them. You see other movies that are kind of similar vein, like Orca. I could care less if Richard Harris had thrown across the damn ocean before he hit that iceberg. It's just you're with them, and it's like you're with them in the town, you're with them on the boat, you're with them in the water, and it's I think that's what makes the film so good, is that you actually have a personal identification and an emotional link with them.
Okay. Choose next, Mike, me or Nate. Who would like to go next?
All right.
Nate.
To feed into what everyone's saying, I think it's impressive that we're seeing a little bit of unifying themes here. And I think that's part of what kind of brings us together. But in my mind, it is your own personal view of human adversity to a given situation. Because at no time do you feel like it's you in a crowd full of people. You feel like you're observing the events that are taking place, and you're observing how people are responding in adversity. And you get a little bit of every different, you get the anger, you get the upset, you get the scared, you get the Quint saying, yep, you got a problem. I'm not doing a damn thing about it until, you line my pockets. I can handle this, you get Brody, who's just running scared, has no idea what to do. He's looking out to reach, and you get Hooper coming in. And I love Hooper's take because, you're sitting there and Hooper's just listening to people and he's shaking his head and he's got half an attitude at times. And he's like, what the hell, people? This is, you have no idea what you're dealing with here. And to me, it's just watching people react, whether it's the townspeople, whether it's the main characters, to an adverse situation that takes place that throws you off of your daily schedule.
That's a great one. Damn. It's my turn next, isn't it?
Yeah, good luck, Ross.
I'm afraid that's all we've got time for, guys. Thanks very much.
I mean, you could say it's a story about a woman. Did she ever get a cup back? As a woman in a lost cup, you could say something like that,
That's it, God. But yeah, it's about a lost cup. No, I think, because the thing is, you're right, Nate, in terms of like, there's a lot of the same stuff being said, but we're all seeing the same thing in different ways in the movie. And I think Like for me, like it's everything you guys have already said, but I think it's also my first lesson in sort of governance and authority, and realizing that people in charge don't always know what they're doing, and they don't always have your best interests at heart. And it's like sometimes you just need to rely on yourself. And I think Jaws, for me, in terms of moments, I think one of the most important moments is on the ferry scene where Brody is sort of basically bullied into changing his mind about keeping the beaches open and closed. And it's like he knew what the right thing was to do, but he didn't do it. And it's kind of the redemption of that moment, to make sure that he did listen to himself and believe in himself more, which is why in Jaws 2, he's much more vocal, much quicker. But in my view, anyway, in terms of like, we've got another shark problem. This is what you do. No discussion. And he ends up getting fired because of it, So I think there's so much there. It's definitely not just about a fish, which is, I think we can all probably agree. How do we feel about a Jaws reboot remake? Because there's that rumor comes up from time to time. How do we feel about that?
Never.
Yeah, no.
Never.
You're trying to recreate lightning in a bottle. I mean, it will never. In my mind, if you're going to do a remake, you need to improve on the original, and I just don't see how you do that. I don't know if there's been a remake out that's been better than the original. And again, I'm open to being incorrect here, but I can't think of one off the top of my head.
Because of what we all just said, it's not a shark movie.
Yeah.
And if you're trying to recreate a shark movie and you're trying to capture all those tiny little nuances that we've been talking about for the last 45 minutes, you can't reproduce that. That happened. Many times, I think, we all know that the script was kind of being written as they were shooting. And that spur of the moment that I had to pivot because the shark didn't work. So we had to do this and that and the other. That is part of what the magic that made this movie. And that can't be recreated. So that's just my humble but right opinion.
If this were to get remade, I'm not going to lie, I would pay the money and go see it because it's something new pertaining to Jaws. Do I think it would ever do justice? No. Are you going to reproduce it? No. And the thing is what people are going to look for is the shark going to look better? Are the effects going to be better? But you're not going to better that connection between the characters and the subtle feelings and of responsibility and the reactions of people. That's not going to improve. If you're lucky, you'll be able to parallel it, but you're not going to improve on that.
What about you, Michael?
There's kind of so many different aspects that it's just really hard to pin down one.
I think for me, sort of to Nate's point, if a Jaws remake was to come out, I would probably go see it out of curiosity with no expectation of it being anywhere near the original. But I think also as well, there was a Thing remake or prequel in 2011, and originally that was being made with all practical effects, and they ended up going down the CGI route. The thing that would really make me curious is that if they redid Jaws and they used a practical shark again, but it was just like a 50-year update in terms of what Bruce was, I'd be really curious to see, could they do a 25-foot like great white shark? Because obviously, we've seen some amazing shark effects in things like Deep Blue Sea and the Shallows as well, was pretty good. So I'd be curious, but I wouldn't have any great hopes of it being anywhere near as good in terms of the character. It's just like Robin said, it's lightning in the bottle.
So like I was saying, there's so many different aspects. You're going to go in. Every time I go into a remake, as hard as I try, you can't help but compare it to the original. And this film is so important to myself and to all of us that it could be the greatest movie ever made. But you're not going to acknowledge that because it's not what you remember.
Hey guys, it's Ross. I hope you're enjoying this week's episode. Bruce and I just wanted to take a moment to tell you about a couple of the organisations that we've been working with, and also some of the new products you can find in our store. Minorities in Shark Sciences, or MISS for short. A non-profit founded in 2020 that champions diversity in shark, ray and marine sciences. MISS creates equitable opportunities for historically underrepresented communities through hands-on programs and believes that diverse scientists bring diverse ideas, driving the innovation essential for ocean conservation. Representation matters, and MISS is making sure the next generation sees a place for themselves in marine biology. Learn more and support their mission at missalesmo.org. The mission of the Tourette Association of America is to provide help and hope to those affected by Tourette syndrome, tic disorders, and associated conditions through awareness, research, and support. It's the only national organisation serving the community and works to raise awareness, advance research, and provide ongoing support to patients and families impacted by Tourette syndrome and tic disorders. To this end, the Tourette Association of America directs a network of 31 chapters, 83 support groups, and recognises 18 centres of excellence across the country. It's a non-profit organisation and is extremely close to the heart of not just Jeffrey Kramer, but also his family. The Daily Jaws store is home to some of the world's most exciting Jaws products, including screen-accurate barrels and tanks, a chalkboard shark shadowcaster, a yellow barrel koozie, an orca transom and 3 yellow barrel keychains, and much more. Visit store.thedailyjaws.com. For non-US orders, please email orders@thedailyjaws.com. Thanks for listening. Now back to the show. Yeah.
But
okay.
If I were to cast Quint, though, I'd put Ian McShane. So.
Ooh, that's a good one.
That's a good call. That's a good call.
God,
Yeah.
This wasn't on my list of questions, but oh my God. Okay. Do we even go down this road, or are we going to start losing thousands of followers? Okay.
I think we should. We should.
Let's do it. Let's go down that road. Okay. So forgive us, Lord, for what we were about to do. Okay. So if we were to remake Jaws, who would we cast as the 3 main characters? I'm not going first on this one, guys. Someone else.
Oh.
Nate, please.
Nate, yeah, I was going to say ladies first, but go ahead, Nate.
I'm sorry. I don't know who I could cast as Quint, and I'm not sure about Hooper because I would want to do more than looks. But there's 2 characters I would definitely cast. Christian Bale would be Brody. I think he could pull off Brody. I think he has the say little, pull it off with the tone, with the face. And Mike and I had this discussion, and we both agreed on this, that Mayor Vaughn would have to be Samuel L. Jackson.
Oh, that's a good choice.
Yeah.
Wow.
Too many
Okay.
Darkness Island.
That's right.
Say shark again.
Yeah.
Okay. Robin, you're looking nervous. Go ahead.
I have never thought about this before because I always block these conversations out of my head. So I'm going to pass the ball to one of you guys and come back to me.
I don't have a 3, but I think Mark Ruffalo as Brody would be a good shout. I think Mark Ruffalo as Brody, I could see that all day long.
Yeah.
The other 2, I don't know.
For Hooper, they'd insist on Seth Rogen, which means it'll just be horrible.
Oh God.
He would have the look, but he wouldn't have the demeanor, though.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I think, it's a tough one, isn't it? I mean, the thing is, like, Quint is one of the uncastable roles because Robert Shaw was just so perfect. Yes. But forcing the hand, I think the only 2 people that I think might have a chance of pulling it off are possibly Tom Hardy or Jeffrey Dean Morgan, I think. Apart from those, but it's just.
I never thought about Tom Hardy. Oh my God!
I think Tom Hardy's is he a bit young still? You think?
I don't know because Robert Shaw was 47, but he looked an older 47, didn't he?
Yeah, but 47 in the 70s is not 47 in 2025. You know,
it's not, is it?
I mean, it's so I don't know. It might be a bit young looking. It's tough.
It's Hooper 20s or 30s because he's wise, he's had experience, but he's also young. So are we talking, a scrawny little Tom Holland, or are we talking a older 30-something, whatever? It's interesting. I never really could pinpoint Hooper's age.
I always thought late 20s. But
because Richard was 26, but he was kind of going gray already in his beard. So that's what kind of makes you really can't peg down his age. And if in the book he was the younger brother of Ellen's old boyfriend, so he was probably late 20s, early 30s in the book.
Okay. Okay. Are you guys ready for some quick fire controversial questions?
Sure.
All right.
That last one.
Timothy Dalton in 1923 is incredible. The old James Bond actor.
Yeah.
He'd be a good Quint.
Do you think so?
Oh yeah, he's chewing scenery, and if you guys watch 1923, he's a really good bad guy. I was like, and then Pierce Brosnan's on
Is he not too
Mobland.
good looking though? Is he not too handsome? I haven't
No,
seen too
no,
many Dolmans in a while.
he's aged well, but not. You know, hey, Robert Shaw was a good-looking guy in From Russia with Love. You know,
Oh, yeah.
he's aged well. Yeah, he's aged well, but
Dalton handsome.
rough. Say
Well,
again.
he was James Bond. It was James Bond. So I mean, you know, I mean, in the 80s. So I mean, that was 40
Well,
plus years
people
ago.
were doing a lot of coke in the 80s, so you know.
Well, that wasn't. I wasn't expecting to hear that line today in this lovely PG friendly chat we're having.
That's going to go in the trailer. That's going to go in the trailer of the interview.
Sorry.
That's great. So I've got a few quick controversial questions, but before we pivot to that, sorry, there's one other question we need to address. Obviously, Jaws is a classic on its own. It is the pinnacle of cinema, but we did get 3 more sequels after that. Jaws 2, Jaws 3D, Jaws the Revenge. What are our thoughts on the sequels?
I love Jaws 2. I really don't acknowledge beyond that. I think Jaws 4 is unwatchable. It's just unwatchable. Jaws 3, for me, and I've spoken about this a lot, so I'll be super brief. If they called Jaws 3 Shark at SeaWorld or something different, I might have enjoyed it more. Or and Jaws the Revenge, you know, Shark in the Bahamas or Voodoo Shark in the Bahamas, I might have enjoyed it a bit more. But because it was carrying the weight of Jaws, I kind of dismissed those two, unfortunately. And, you know, I hope Joe Owls isn't watching this, for Jaws 3. But, I love Jaws 2. I think it's a worthy sequel. I think it's the second best shark movie ever made. But beyond that, no, not for me.
Yeah, I agree. I think Jaws 2 is a great film, a good standalone film. I think the fact that it had Jaws in its title kind of hurt it critically because they were, you know, critics were expecting Jaws. And John Hancock told me that had he knew Steven Spielberg would eventually be Steven Spielberg, he never would have taken the job. Jaws 3 is, it's okay. Jaws 4, I would have made it a comedy. You know, I would have had Mrs. Kittner over there consoling Ellen, and Ellen going, "What do you know about this? You never lost." Oh, I forgot. You know,
hang on a minute. Are you saying that Jaws the Revenge isn't a comedy?
Yeah, right.
Not an intentional comedy.
Right. Okay. Now I understand.
Intentionally went for the laughs.
Okay.
Well, Michael Caine, he was in every other film in the 80s, and Gene Hackman was in the other half. So yeah, it's just.
What about you, Nate? What are your thoughts on the sequels?
Definitely Jaws 2. Jaws 2 ranks up there, I think, as one of the top sequels, period, whether we're talking in the Jaws world or not. 3 and 4, you know, growing up as a kid, I watched them. If they're on, I'll let them run as a guilty pleasure. Am I a fan of them? Not necessarily, but I think that there are certain aspects of each one that have some admiration to them. I think some of the early scenes of Jaws the Revenge have a little bit of admirable quality to it. You know, you're back after so many years, you're revisiting Amity Island, you know, where 3 took you completely out of the realm. 3, I think, had an interesting kind of take on it, but unfortunately, at times it's a little too easy to read into the fact that I feel at times if it was trying to help and boost Universal or help Universal out as opposed to being an actual good like storytelling at times, you know.
No, I agree with you as well in terms of those early scenes. I think they're actually solid, you know, and then it goes a bit crazy when the shark decides to follow them to the Bahamas. Robin, what about yourself?
I'm a fan of the banana boat scene.
Oh my God.
There you go.
What about you, Robin? What are your thoughts on the sequels?
So I really, really enjoyed Jaws 2, but I would have loved a Hancock version because we knew it was supposed to be darker. We knew it was not supposed to be the frivolity. I enjoyed what we got, but you know, having talked to him as well, it would have been, I would have loved to have seen what he could have, what the output of his movie was. Yeah. Jaws 3 was probably, so that was what, 83?
83.
Yeah, that's right.
83. Okay, so I was at a point in my life, you know, I had just basically seen Jaws. And then Jaws 3 came out. I had jumped over because that was big at the time. And so it kind of hit me when I was that age. And I remember not ever kind of letting go that baby great white that goes belly up in that tank. And it hit me. And I was like, if nothing else happens in this movie, this actually like hit me because I didn't know. And it was a baby and it went belly up and it was sad and all of that. The rest of it, I mean, unless you were sitting there with 3D glasses and you saw a fish head go by, I mean, maybe back in the day it was exciting, but it definitely does not carry. And then the fourth, I don't really acknowledge either. So I happen to be the one, I think, the one person that finds, please, Lord, forgive me for saying this, but the little girl to be a little annoying, actually. So not her, the character of the little girl, Thea. I find her to be pretty whiny and screamy and annoying. And so the banana boat scene didn't quite work out the way I had hoped, but you know.
And this is like a bee in my bonnet. I've lived in the States now for quite a few years, but what's the deal with this standoff game? Nobody, I know tons of Americans. Nobody ever knows what a standoff game is, and I think it's just made up, right?
Got to be.
Yeah, I've never heard of it.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So standoff does not exist. Just on what you said there, Robin, I'm with you about the Hancock version of Jaws 2. I would love to have seen that because I think when you look at movie franchises, probably the most important one is the first sequel. I think, you know, in terms of the direction for the rest of the trilogy or the quadrilogy or whatever it turns into. And Jaws 2, I did an interview with Gino a couple of years ago for the 45th anniversary, and he was basically saying like how the production kind of ground to a halt and he had a week to prep for Jaws 2, and we kind of got the best of what we could possibly do at that time. But I just think, yeah, that darker, grittier version of Jaws, I would really have liked to have seen that, you know, really focus again back on the characters and the town and the economic impact the shark had from the first movie, all of those things. But, you know, we got the Jaws 2 we got, and it's perfectly fine. It's a decent sequel. And Jaws 3, I don't know, it kind of just goes left at the traffic lights, those last two movies, don't they? It's just absolutely crazy. But, you know, there are some good moments. I'm still trying to figure out, how did the shark get out of the shipwreck after chasing Mike Brody in Jaws the Revenge? Because it hasn't got like a reverse gear, has it? So how did it get out of there? I don't know.
Ross, that's your biggest problem with Jaws the Revenge?
No, it's just one of many. One of many. Okay, are you guys ready for some quick fire questions? Some controversial. Yes. Okay, so these are all opinion. These aren't like a test or anything like that. You're not going to get scored. Okay, so all of these relate to the first movie. So, first question. Out of Chrissy, Pippet, Alex, Ben Gardner, the estuary victim, and Quint, if you could only save one of those people from Jaws, who would you save and why? Jump in at will.
Pippet.
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 Yeah, Pippet.
Pippet. Okay, which leads me to my next question. Did Pippet actually die?
Well, that's the great, because you see a black dog on the bridge, right, when Brody's running into it. So yeah,
it's possible.
You also see Pippet's owner right after Alex running in with the rest of the crowd and pulling out some kids. So, you know, he clearly wasn't torn up about having just lost his dog.
Because I think he'd be looking for the dog first. Yeah.
Looking for the dog.
Yeah.
Pippet died. If you've ever had dogs, particularly retrievers, you would know there's no way in hell he would come back without that stick. Just wouldn't happen. I'm telling you, it would not happen. You'd be dragging him out of there without that stick. Yeah.
It's hilarious.
I think that is the incontrovertible evidence there. Next question. Did they need a bigger boat?
No. Mm-mm. Not like they were going to catch it and throw it on board.
Yeah, I agree. I agree completely.
Mm-hmm. Scoop it up with a net and throw it on board. So yeah.
Okay.
They needed one with better bearings for sure. Yeah. And maybe a newer engine. But
they needed a newer boat, not a bigger boat.
Yeah, a better boat, one that worked.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
we're gonna need, you're gonna need a better boat. Doesn't sound as good, you know.
It doesn't, does it?
Well, so the
Okay.
question is always, how come Hooper, they didn't take Hooper's big boat?
Yeah, right.
Well,
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because
yeah,
it
because
wasn't
the
his
thing,
charter. Yeah.
because they could have taken it as well or instead of, but as we
Yeah.
say, it's all about Quint, and that's my boat, my charter, my way or the highway. So yeah, thank you for putting that to rest.
Yeah. Did not need a bigger boat. You needed smaller attitudes. That's what you needed.
Oh, I like that. You need a better, smaller attitude. I like that. If Jaws is Steven Spielberg's best movie, which I'm fairly sure everybody on this call would agree,
Hook. Hook.
what is? Eh?
Oh, you're going to say worst? You're going to say
No, no.
worst? Okay.
Wow,
I was trying to,
no.
lightning round. I was trying to get in there quick. I'm sorry.
You were
He's
trying.
got some
No,
anger,
no, no.
You've got some anger. You got some anger towards Hook.
I was going to say, let's try and
God.
keep it positive, guys. Come on, Michael, you need one of these just to start de-stressing you. You okay? What is his second best movie?
Ooh.
Today, Close Encounters.
Yeah.
I mean, I hate to be that guy, but Schindler's List is pretty hard to. I mean, it's not a crowd pleaser for sure, but I mean, what a piece of filmmaking.
Mm. It is good. Robin, are you okay?
Damn, I'm really deep in thought, and I don't have a good poker face. So I'm gonna say E.T. was probably my next favorite because again, I'm a kid. It was magical and hit at that time and stuck.
Yeah.
So I'm going with E.T.
That's a really good shout. Man.
What about you, Nate?
I'm drawn towards his military films. I love all of his films, but
Oh man,
the one reoccurring thing with him is that personal connection and how people respond. So, Empire of the Sun, I thought was just simply amazing and well ahead of its time. Definitely Saving Private Ryan. War Horse, maybe not as much, but I don't know. I would have to say probably those two. Yeah.
Because this is what's interesting about these answers is that we kind of seeing that we've got two different Spielbergs where you've got the deep meaningful war historical those kind of movies, but you've also got the popcorn roller coaster stuff, and Jaws I think kind of sits in between those two because there's a lot to read in Jaws and it's also like the ultimate popcorn movie. But I think for me I prefer the roller coaster popcorn stuff, so I'm going to say damn, this is tough. Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. I think it's just so much fun. I just love the chemistry between Ford and Connery. I think it's just unmatched on screen. It's just absolutely unbelievable. Yeah, that's my answer. I'm going to stick to it, but I'll probably edit that out of the interview, and I'll edit in something much more intelligent later on.
That's interesting, Ross. Because I thought if you're going to go Indiana Jones, you would have gone with Raiders, which for me is the best of the three. But that's an interesting choice.
I love the first three movies. I think the last two are kind of unnecessary, but Raiders I think is great, but it's just a little bit too heavy, and Temple of Doom's a little bit too dark. Indiana Jones: Last Crusade, it's just that right level of adventure and that comedic side of things. Basically, I just like to have a laugh. I don't want to think too much during my movies, and Spielberg doesn't allow me to think too much, which is great. So thank you, Stephen. Last controversial question. Now, this one I think is one that's been keeping the Jaws community awake at night for probably getting on for 50 years now. And I think, we are the group of people to get to the bottom of this mystery. So, Jaws Facebook admins, bearing in mind everything that happened in Jaws, how the hell is Mayor Vaughn still the mayor in Jaws 2?
Ooh. Well,
Have you been watching American politics?
Yeah, I was about to say.
Yeah.
Here we go.
I will say, and I maintain this, the people get who they deserve, and I'll leave it at that. That's the deep thoughts by Martin Bushel.
I like that. What about the rest of you?
Vaughn is an answer man.
If you figure in the original novel's mafia subplot, it would be a lot easier to understand why he's still mayor.
Yeah.
Or maybe his father ran molasses with Joe Kennedy. It's just it was a convenient character. It was a convenient character to bring back that that they needed.
Yeah.
But he also did
Especially
sign in
after-
the hospital. We did sign the form to hire Quint. So maybe he spun it in such a way. Look, I hired Quint, and we got the shark. So maybe
No.
maybe it could spun it in that way.
I think that the beginning of the movie proves how many people he has in his pocket. And despite what happened, he still probably has that influence over people. And so, that he still stays in the spotlight.
I think you're probably right. He's got a certain level of influence. And to Michael's point about the mob subplot, but I think the other thing as well, and it's one of my frustrations with Jaws 2, is that they cut out the scene where he votes for Brody not to get fired. And it's just like, that's the reason why he's back in Jaws 2, in my opinion, but they cut it out. And I'm just like, you've kind of, because, every movie in some ways is about redemption of some sort, right? And that was his moment. And I'm like, you cut it out. Because when I first saw that scene, I was like, oh my God, what the hell? I didn't even know this scene existed. It's just like one of those things. But yeah, and also Murray Hamilton. I mean, he's just tremendous, wasn't he? He really was just absolutely brilliant.
And I think when we had David Hamilton on Let's Talk Jaws Live, I think he was talking that his dad was kind of upset that they cut that out, because really there is no redeeming quality to Vaughn in part 2. No. Obviously in the first film, he relents, he understands he can't keep it quiet anymore. He's got to do what's right. And he signs to hire Quint. But in this one, he's just Jaws 2, he's just a money grubber.
Okay, so I want to know, what's it been like for you guys running these amazing Facebook groups for such a long time? What's the experience been like?
I mean, for Amity Jaws group, it's actually been fantastic. I mean, when I started this group back in August of, I want to say it'll be 7 years in this August. I had, and Robin kind of said this earlier, I had no expectation. I was like, okay, I love Jaws. I'm going to start a Jaws Facebook page because maybe I'll see some things, I'll learn some things, and maybe I'll interact with some people. And we kind of planted our flag and said, Amity means friendship. We took that line from the movie, and that's kind of been our motto, because Facebook, social media in general, can be quite toxic, right? People get very brave behind the keyboards. They're going to say things that they won't say to your face. And so, I'd seen some things on some other pages that really weren't nice. So, we went in there and we were like, okay, this is what we're going to do. We're just going to be a Jaws page. We're going to just keep it friendly. We're not going to tolerate any bullying, any name calling. You get one chance, and if you screw it up, you're gone. There are a multitude of Jaws pages out there with varying degrees of quality and input. Right? I mean, we get a ton of traffic, and we've only ever had 5 mods. Ever. I mean, Robin and Shelley have been there since day one, and frankly, I couldn't have done it without those 2 guys. We added two other mods fairly recently, but it runs itself. We on occasion get the odd, tasteless post or the odd hiccup, but that's just part and parcel of it. We've got almost 34,000 people. Not everyone's going to be swimming the same direction every day, but for me, it's been a real. It's been a labour of love, Rob and I don't make any money from it. In fact, it costs us, with giveaways and such and such. We started the movie, the Saturday movies, which have just been a great success. We started that during COVID when nobody could go anywhere. We did a virtual viewing of Jaws. We had, God knows how many, 2,000 comments in 2 hours and 4 minutes. People were just into it. And we do that now still once a month. It's kind of moved away now from like Jaws movies. But the interaction we get is incredible. And I got to meet you guys. Robin's just become a great friend. Hung out with Mike and Nate and Ross. We don't know you that well, but we're getting to know each other as well. So it's just been for me a complete labour of love. It's been an absolute pleasure, and long may it continue.
Yeah, here. What about you, Robin? What's it like being running Amity Jaws Group?
Well, dealing with that Yahoo every day is my labor of love. But no, actually, he's right. I mean, the friendships that have formed by having that common interest, I mean, it's been invaluable, at least in my life, and has extended into other areas of my life. Martin and his wife and my husband and I met in New York, and we saw The Shark is Broken. Just the 2 couples. And so it's like, all from a Jaws page. And just the opportunities that have come, you're going to get your personalities, that don't mesh. There's the occasional rift between people, and you have to make some tough decisions, a lot of times. I mean, not a lot, but, nothing compared to the positive. The positive so far outweighs the negative. I think in our first year, Martin, you probably remember this, the wife of the helicopter pilot in Jaws 2 joined our page, and we thought we had just met Spielberg himself. I mean, we were so excited. And it was like, we were like in a new realm. And, since things have evolved and progressed and we've met, expanded that community and expanded those friendships, it has, it really just completely outweighs any, negative moments, the fleeting moments. And we've always tried to keep things from becoming stale. So again, we do contests and we'll do giveaways and more things like that, just to kind of keep people engaged. And, it's hard because you get, it takes work and it's money and it's time and it's whatever, but just again, it's been a really amazing experience. So.
Well, and I forgot to mention, Robin, we've had two couples who met in our group got married, which is crazy.
Wow.
Didn't get invited to either of the weddings, but still.
I just want to echo what you guys just said there, because like with Amity Jaws group, I just get a real sense of like energy and enthusiasm, because I do follow your pages as well. And it's just like some of the stuff you do is just really inventive, and there's the real sense of that community. You say, Martin, you sort of champion the motto Amity means friendship, and that's friendship for everybody. But like you say, play by the rules, be respectful, be good, and we'll all have a great time.
We will. And Ross, I mean, you reached out, the one member of ours that was doing that yearbook or the book, the catalog where everybody was writing their memories and passing it around. I mean, you never know what piques an interest, and we're happy to kind of connect you with her and do a little article on that. So again, just the little networking and opportunities that somebody in, tiny little Ohio or whatever can do something exciting because social media keeps us connected, which is really cool. So.
Yeah. It's like anything else. It's how you use it, isn't it? There are some really negative things about social media, but I think overall, in terms of the Jaws community, particularly the groups that are on the call today, do a fantastic job championing the positive. Nate and Mike, what's it been like running Let's Talk Jaws Live and Jaws 50?
Fun, tiring sometimes. You try to be open to everybody, but then you get the occasional person that you shouldn't have let in. And you do your best to try to find, nip them in the bud, the negative comments. We're strict as well. We don't have a 2-strike rule. 1 strike, you're out. There's too much bullying and all other kinds of stuff going on in the world that people don't need to do it on a Facebook page. But we've met people from all over the world. I'm so excited. Let me plug the book real quick. I have this book coming out in June. I had over 800 people apply to be one of the 50 fans. And, I've got Serbia, UK. I've got a guy from the Ukraine in the middle of a war. And he writes me and he says, this movie, he goes, right now I feel like I'm on a desolate Jaws island because there's nobody around. And it's us. It's the fans that keep it going. And really quick, Richard Dreyfuss wrote the foreword for the book, and it's beautiful. It's the best writing in the book. But I want to read something that he wrote. He wrote that we made the movie, but you gave the movie a life. It's yours to carry forward and keep alive for the next 50 years. I rest easy knowing it's in good hands, the hands of the fans. And
wow,
and as long as we can, we'll keep it going.
God, that is touching,
keep it
isn't
going
it?
And spread the word.
Jeez. Okay, Nate, I would not want to be
He
you
gets
right
it.
now.
He gets
How do you follow that, mate?
How do I top that? How do I no? I'll be honest with you. I feel like I have a little bit of a unique perspective because, as I said when we started the show, I have been following and been fans and members of all of your pages for quite a few years now, and only recently do I feel like I've been seeing the other side of it, and yes, it is. I'm sure everyone agree. It quickly becomes a part-time job, without a doubt.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You're always trying to make sure number one, you want to be there, you want to be seen, you want to be interacting, without a doubt. And you're going to deal with the negatives, and that's just life. Whether it's Facebook, whether it's people you're dealing with at work. But I always still look at it from a fan standpoint because that's what we are. We are all fans, and that's why we're here. We have this common thread that brings us together, and it's just beautiful to see some of the groups and some of the people that you end up meeting and developing relationships with. And so, in my mind, the 10 or 12 posts of someone that just joined and wants to thank you, or someone that joined and says, "Hey, check this out," something you had no idea, never seen before, came out of left field, far outweighs that one dud that you've got to hit the ejector seat button on. And, as we often talk about on the show that, it was, used to call it like the Jaws Army and the Jaws this. And we have affectionately adopted the idea of it's a Jaws family. These are people that you get to know very well, whether you've met them in person or not. These are people that look out for you, that check in on you, see how you're doing, share the excitement. It really goes beyond that. It goes beyond an acquaintance. And I think that is what keeps things up and running. I think Jaws is the vehicle for a group of people that have more going on than just simply a fan of a film. So, yeah.
Wow. Oh my God, this is why you guys are on this call. This is why I wanted us to get together, because I think people don't always know the people behind these pages and these groups that they're a part of. And it means just as much to us as it does to them to be a part of it. So it's wonderful to have you guys here. I only have one question left for you guys before we disembark. As we say, it's 50 years since the movie came out. Why are we still sitting here 50 years talking about a movie about a shark? What makes this movie so special?
For me, it's always been in my life since I can remember, and there's a certain level of comfort I get when I watch it. It's like, and this is real cheesy, it's like putting on like a really comfortable pair of slippers or something, or a really comfortable pair of sweatpants. It's just something that's always been there. And I've seen it with grandparents, parents, friends, family, girlfriends, my wife, so this movie's always been a constant. It's like, to me, it's almost like one of those things when, one of your favorite celebrity passes away. You never met this person, but it's like, oh man, this person has been in my life since I can remember, and now they're no longer here. So that's kind of how I feel like with Jaws. I mean, I had nothing to do with the making of Jaws. I had nothing to do with any of that, but it's just been a constant in my life since I can remember, and it just gives me comfort when I watch it.
Wonderful.
For me, it's my dad. Yeah, it's a special time in my life that my dad introduced the music first, and has just the memories of him. He's been gone for some time now. So it's truly the nostalgia and just something that I have that nobody else does, and that is those moments with my father. And Jaws has been a huge part of that since day one, and so it means way more to me than just a movie. So
that's amazing. Thank you for sharing that, Robin.
All of us, it touched us in a way that no other film did before, no other film has since. It's just that it was almost like they made that movie for us. We have a special connection to it. And that's what makes it, I mean, I've seen a million films, probably not really a million, but as a film critic, I see 40 movies a year at least. So but none have ever, and there's some great movies, but none has ever affected me the way Jaws did. And I don't think a film ever will.
Not even Jaws the Revenge.
Especially Jaws the Revenge.
What about you, Nate?
Uh, looking at that as a whole, maybe part of it is age. As we get older, we tend to change our perspective on things and how we look at things. But really, what it comes down to is simply experience. We all have experiences that touch us in life, and people have things that have incredible. They have incredible personal and emotional connections to, and we think it's weird. I know people have incredible personal connections with 40-year-old cars. And people go, you don't, people that have connections with a sport, lifelong sporting event, could be, an individual, an icon, of history or something along those lines, or personal connection to where they live, an island or a town. And we have that connection to the movie. And I think that it has grown and matured with us. It represents different things, and we have different connections now than when we did as a kid, because we saw someone getting chomped up for the first time by a shark or whatever. And I think that experience, as it continues to grow and mature and change with us, I think we constantly have that connection, but it's not what it was. And the fact that it has not gone stale and it continues, and I think what we're seeing is a part of that maturity. And I think that's what has made it such a strong connection. I mean, I can draw connections into so many people, my wife included. The second time my wife and I saw a movie, it was Jaws, and she was like, "Why are you so drawn to Quint?" I'm like, "For God's sakes, listen to the one-liners. Come on, you're not getting this, But yeah, I really do. Yeah, I think it's that experience and that the evolution of it, the connection you have to it.
I think it's just everything you guys have said there is in a nutshell kind of how I feel about the movie. It's a movie that grows with you. There's always something there for you in Jaws, no matter what you kind of bring to it, no matter what you're going through in your life, perhaps. There's always an answer in there somewhere. So for me, yeah, I mean, it's no great surprise that, we're still sitting here talking about this movie 50 years later. And I'll see you all for Jaws 100, right? Yeah.
Oh, yeah, we'll be around. Absolutely.
Yeah. Absolutely. We're going to do that whole cryogenically frozen gig. That's what we'll do. Guys, that's really all from me. I mean, I've loved listening to every moment of this. This has been so insightful for me, and obviously get to know you guys a little bit better. Thank you so much for your time. It's wonderful for us all to be together and to meet everybody together. It's wonderful.
Pleasure.
Yeah, thanks for putting it together, Ross. Much appreciated.
Yeah, thank you.
Very much appreciate it, Ross.
Thank you very much. Great
It's been a
opportunity,
pleasure.
and it's been fun.
Yeah, well, thank you. Well, as I said before, I drink to your legs, crush the cans. Amity means friendship. Stay strong, and I'll catch you guys on the other side. That's it for today's deep dive into Jaws, the film that turned beaches into no-swim zones and created the summer blockbuster. If you enjoyed the episode, make sure to follow, rate and review. We'd love to hear your thoughts. And remember, just when you thought it was safe to stop listening, there's plenty more episodes to come. Please be sure to check out the work of Minorities and Shark Sciences and also the Tourette's Association of America. That's it for now, guys, but I'll catch you next time. I'll drink to your legs.